What if I told you that taking probiotics every single day can literally change how your gut, immune system, brain, skin, metabolism, and even mood function? Not in a wellness influencer way, but in a measurable, biological, science-backed way. Clinical studies show that daily probiotics can reprogram your gut microbiome, train your immune system, and influence anxiety and stress via the gut-brain axis. Improve digestion, bloating, and bowel regularity. And in some people, completely fail if taken incorrectly. So what really happens inside your body day by day, week by week, and month by month when you take probiotics every day? Today, we'll break it down using real human studies, simplified science, and PubMed-backed evidence. No hype, no myths. Chapter 1. What probiotics actually are. Science simplified. Probiotics are live microorganisms that, when consumed in adequate amounts, provide a health benefit to the host. In simple terms, probiotics are helpful bacteria that support balance inside your gut. The most studied families include Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium species, and select strains like Saccharomyces boulardii. Chapter 2, Day 1 to Day 3. What happens when you first start probiotics? When you swallow a probiotic capsule or consume probiotic-rich foods, 1. Most bacteria do not permanently colonize immediately. 2. They pass through your digestive tract. 3. Along the way, they interact with existing gut microbes, intestinal cells, immune signaling pathways. During the first few days, probiotics mainly act as temporary visitors. Common early effects: normal and expected, mild bloating, increased gas, changes in stool frequency, slight digestive discomfort. This happens because your existing microbiome is adjusting, fermentation patterns temporarily shift, short-chain fatty acid production changes. This is not a bad sign in most cases. Clinical studies show that this adjustment phase usually resolves within 3 to 7 days. Chapter 3. Week 1. The microbiome starts responding. By the end of the first week of daily probiotic use, something important begins to happen. Microbial signaling changes. Even if probiotic strains don't fully colonize yet, they communicate with resident bacteria, compete with pathogenic microbes, modify gut pH and nutrient availability. This leads to reduced growth of harmful bacteria, increased production of beneficial metabolites, early immune modulation. PubMed Insight Simplified. Human trials show that probiotics can increase levels of short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, support gut barrier integrity, reduce low-grade intestinal inflammation. These effects are functional, not just compositional, meaning your gut may work better before it looks different on a microbiome test. Chapter 4. Week 2 to Week 4. Digestion and bloating improve. This is where many people notice real, tangible changes. Digestive benefits. Commonly reported: less bloating after meals, improved bowel regularity, reduced constipation or diarrhea, depending on baseline, better tolerance to certain foods. Why? Because probiotics support enzyme activity, improve carbohydrate fermentation balance, reduce gas-producing bacterial overgrowth, strengthen the intestinal lining. Gut barrier effects. Daily probiotics have been shown to increase tight junction protein expression, reduce intestinal permeability, leaky gut markers, lower endotoxin translocation. This has downstream effects on systemic inflammation, immune activation, metabolic health. Chapter 5, Month 1, Immune System Training begins. Here's a critical concept. Your immune system learns from your gut. Nearly 70% of immune cells are located in or around the gut-associated lymphoid tissue. How daily probiotics affect immunity? With consistent daily intake. Dendritic cells receive new microbial signals. Regulatory T-cell activity increases. Pro-inflammatory cytokines may decrease. Antibody responses can improve. Clinical studies suggest fewer upper respiratory infections, reduced duration of colds, improved immune balance, not overstimulation. This is why probiotics are increasingly studied in immune resilience, antibiotic recovery, inflammatory conditions. Chapter 6. The gut-brain axis. mood and stress changes. By weeks 4-8, probiotics can begin influencing something unexpected. Your brain. The gut and brain communicate via the vagus nerve, immune mediators, neurotransmitter precursors, short-chain fatty acids, certain probiotic strains, increase GABA signaling, influence serotonin metabolism, reduce cortisol responses to stress. This doesn't mean probiotics are antidepressants, but studies show reduced perceived stress, improved emotional resilience, better sleep quality in some individuals. Chapter 7. Long-term daily use, 3 to 6 months. This is where real microbiome remodeling occurs. Long-term adaptations. Increased microbial diversity in some people. More stable gut ecosystem. Improved metabolic signaling. Reduced inflammatory tone. However, not everyone benefits equally. Response depends on baseline microbiome, diet, fiber intake is crucial, probiotic strain selection, consistency. Probiotics work best as microbiome trainers, not miracle pills. Chapter 8. When daily probiotics don't work, important. Some people feel nothing. Common reasons. Wrong strain for the goal. Poor quality supplement. No prebiotic fiber intake. Severe dysbiosis requiring different intervention. Expecting permanent colonization from transient strains. This is why strain-specific selection matters. Chapter 9. Probiotics versus food, which is better daily? Fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi supplements, higher dose, strain-specific, more controlled. Best results often come from combining probiotic foods, targeted supplements, and a fiber-rich diet. Chapter 10. Final takeaway. So what happens when you take probiotics every day? Your gut environment shifts. Your immune system recalibrates. Your digestion becomes more efficient. Your brain-gut communication improves. Your long-term health trajectory may change, but only if you choose the right strains, you stay consistent, you support them with the right diet. Subscribe for more evidence-based probiotic and microbiome content. See you in the next video.